What do you think this means for Dak Prescott?
Well, to me, unfortunately, I don't think it bodes well for him because of the thinking of the Dallas Cowboys. Am I confident for the most part they'll get a deal done? Sure. But in the end, let's dissect what's been transpiring. They've put the exclusive franchise tag on him, guaranteeing him about $33 million on a one-year deal. Nobody can acquire him. They've got a deal. They've got to make a deal with him by July 15th. We know all of those particulars, but they still have the right to trade him ultimately if they want to. And if you can't reach the kind of deal that would suffice in his mind, then who knows what he may want to ask for. You would think that because you've added CeeDee Lamb to Amari Cooper and Terrence Williams, that would buffer Dak Prescott's stock because the Cowboys would be smart enough to say, okay, we've got these cats in place. Let's get our 4-year starter who's never missed a game for us, who's only missed one practice, really, and that made Backpage new, who's been a leader, who's been accountable, who's been reliable, who's been trustworthy, who's been a model citizen. Let's get a deal done with this guy. Let's get him locked in. In the same breath, are they going to do that definitively? They've given us no evidence that that is going to happen thus far, and that is my concern. So to me, the mentality is that, excuse me, we've got so many weapons, we'll be fine without Dak Prescott. I would like to believe they're not thinking that way, but who the hell knows with the Dallas Cowboys? And on a more serious note, my condolences to Dak Prescott and his family for his brother passing away last night, according to the reports. My heart goes out to him and his family. God knows we all know that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to separate out stuff. You know, the real life.
Williams.
Gallup. We have to separate out on this show, as I said earlier about Gettleman, the real life stuff from the sports evaluation and stuff, even when we're having fun with it, you know. Dak is, of course, our hearts go out to him, and Stephen A. and I, we both know what that's like, what he's going through right now, and it's just the worst, and my thoughts are obviously with Dak, and well wishes are with Dak there. But we have to talk about him as a football player right now as well. What the drafting of maybe the best wideout in the draft, right? Like some people, what that means for Dak is Jerry Jones has taken away all the excuses. There's no more excuses. Now you have the coach. Now you have not just an embarrassment of riches, but or not just an offense, but an embarrassment of riches. You got to win now. You can't go in the worst division, arguably ever in the NFL. I mean, the NFC East last year is right up there. Dak Prescott couldn't make the playoffs, and the team that did was riddled with injuries all year. And he still couldn't make the playoffs. So now you give him even more on offense. In a passing league, you have 1 million great targets to pass to and an elite running back. And even if the offensive line has regressed with retirement and injuries and such, it's still going to be at least a solid offensive line, you'd think. And the head coach shouldn't be an excuse anymore, all that stuff. Dak has to perform now. If you look, remember how long it was when he went winless against teams with winning records last year? You know, how Dak gives you a good feeling, and he obviously has talent. And I like the fact that, you know, the criticism of him is not like, well, he was careless with the ball or turned it over, threw an interception. It's, yeah, he completed that pass, but there was an even bigger play on the field that he left out there on the field that he didn't see or something. Okay, all that's good, but the bottom line are the results. Yes, he's won a lot, but last year in particular, without really any excuses other than an average-ish head coach, he was 8-8 and couldn't make the playoffs. So now here's yet another weapon. This indicates to me maybe they're not going to get a deal done with Dak. Maybe they're going to make him play under the franchise tag this season to see if he can get it done with all of this. And if he can't, they can move on. And if he does, they're going to pay him top dollar anyway.
Marcus, before you go, Marcus, let me apologize. Terrence Williams has been gone from the Dallas Cowboys since 2018. I apologize to Michael Gallup, Marcus Spears. I mentioned Terrence Williams about 10 damn times in the last year. I keep mentioning him knowing he's been gone. My apologies to Gallup. I'm sorry.
I got you.
Go ahead.
It happens.
I got you. Yeah. And before I go, I share in the sentiments with Dak, obviously, man, while he's dealing with this tough time. But what I will say is now we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth when it comes to Dak Prescott and more so this draft pick that they made to continue to progress Dak Prescott. On one hand, we asking Green Bay to invest in Aaron Rodgers, and on the other hand, we saying that this is a negative light on Dak in some sort of way. No, this is about them believing in Dak. You bringing in a wide receiver who can add another creative playmaker. Not to mention that they already they had a deficiency at the slot position, so this was legitimately a position of need. When you think about it, they had Randall Cobb last year in this role, so they added a need, they added a real good player, and they added another weapon for their quarterback, who Stephen A. seems to be salty about Green Bay Packers not adding somebody like CeeDee Lamb.
Don't start with me.
Before we
Don't
get
start
to that,
with me.
Listen. Don't say this. Don't have the opinion that this is an indictment on Dak. And really, I was talking to Max about that, because what you want to see franchises do is invest in the fact that they have a quarterback and bring in guys that can create and help him make plays. And on the other hand, Dak Prescott has been offered a contract. This is not about Dallas making him play under a franchise tag. This is about the Dallas Cowboys wanting a certain amount of years, and Dak Prescott and his agent wanting another certain amount of years. That's what this impasse is on the contract, as we all know. So the second thing, go ahead.
Stop right there, because you're being slick, and I'm calling you out. First of all, Marcus Spears accusing me of being emotional about Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if you remember, but I remember. I don't know whether it was Pastor Spears. I don't know whether it was Swagoo. I don't know whether it was Marcus Spears. But I do recall seeing somebody on national TV as recently as 2 weeks ago saying that if he were Dak Prescott, he wouldn't show up to training camp. He wouldn't even wear Dallas Cowboy paraphernalia. He wouldn't accept their phone calls, that Dak Prescott should have been insulted. That was Swag. I don't know whether it was Swagoo. It was Pastor Spears
100%.
or Marcus Spears, but it damn sure looked a hell of a lot like you. I think that's emotional. Some would say that's emotional, but you didn't mind being that way. That's number one. Number two, yeah, it is emotional. Stop it. You, please. You were huffing and puffing. That's number one. Number two, Marcus Spears, in the same breath, even though they should have done this, and we believe it's an upgrade, that's only if you take care of him, which you have maligned your former team for not doing as of yet. So don't sit here being all hypocritical with your position here. All right? Stop it.
It ain't no hypocritical. Does CeeDee Lamb being drafted by the Cowboys benefit Dak Prescott or not? Answer the question.
If he's there, yes. If he's there, yes.
No, I don't want to hear if he's there. Does it benefit Dak Prescott?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
You
said if he's there.
We're talking about. Thank you, Molly.
Marcus.
We are talking about a move that they made in the draft, further enhance weapons for the quarterback to have. Do you think that Dak Prescott is not going to be the quarterback for the Cowboys this year? You are Max.
I believe he will.
This year.
You said he wouldn't show up. You said if you were him, you wouldn't sign the franchise tag, and you wouldn't show up for training camp. So how's he gonna be there if he listens to your advice?
Because I'm going under the narrative that they are going to get a deal done, Stephen A. By him not showing up and not partaking in offseason. First of all, you act like this is something new for a player not to show up. Russell Wilson said verbatim, "I am not doing anything if I don't have a contract from the Seattle Seahawks." This is not anything new in the price of negotiating. But to the point where we're talking about, this CeeDee Lamb draft pick helps him.
A year ago, they traded, or thereabouts, they traded for Amari Cooper, and they gave Dak Prescott a top-flight wideout, a real legit number one wideout, to go with a star running back, a star offensive line, lots of talent on defense, the whole thing. The only thing he didn't have is the coach, and that was like an experiment that the Joneses were doing. Is it the coach or the quarterback? They decided it was the coach. We like the quarterback more than the coach. Now they brought in a coach. They got him yet another receiver. There is a lot, and they have not signed him to a deal, but they franchised him. There is a lot of pressure on Dak right now. There are no guarantees that he gets a long-term contract at the moment. And he's got to perform. 8-8, if they don't give him a deal right now, 8-8 ain't going to get it done.
Max, what the hell are you talking about? No guarantee with a long term. They've already offered him one.
Not one that he took.
All right, guys. Marcus, keep that same
Molly,
energy
go
up. We're
ahead.
going
Go
to keep
ahead,
going
Molly.
here to the NFC South. We're going to talk about the Bucs. They got Brady some protection. They brought an offensive tackle, Tristan Wirfs, who we thought was maybe going to the Giants. Marcus, I'll start with you here. Do you think the Bucs are going to win the NFC South?
Yes, I do. I believe the Bucs are going to be Super Bowl contenders, and I like the move that they made. They've invested. Speaking of going all in, they went all in for Tom Brady, bringing him over, identifying what they need to do in order to put themselves number one ahead of the Saints in the NFC South. And we don't know what the Atlanta Falcons are going to be. They could be good or they could be terrible, as we've seen in the past recent years. But the fact that they got Gronk and the fact that I think Tristan Wirfs is going to be a stalwart tackle in the league for the next 10, 15 years. That's how good he is. He played at Iowa, who has a lineage of sending guys to the NFL on the offensive line, and they played well. But more so than that, this is a part of the plan. This is a part of Bruce Arians' plan. This is a part. Max, we all talked about last year, well, Max has been talking about the Cliffs for 3 years, but we all talked about last year New England not having the weapons that it requires for Tom Brady to do what he needs to do at the age of 42. Nobody dismisses the fact that Tom Brady ain't what Tom Brady used to be when he was rolling. But we all accept, a lot of us, myself and Stephen A., and probably you, Molly, as well, accept the fact that Tom Brady still got good football left in him and can play at a championship level. So with that being said, the moves that you see them making are moves that was probably predetermined before when they knew that they would get Tom Brady. Protect your quarterback. We saw this trend in the league. The Giants did it with their offensive tackle in the draft, with Andrew Thomas. We saw this happen and transpire. It's a great move for them. And Tampa Bay, to me, is ahead in the NFC South, but they were ahead when they signed Rob Gronkowski more so than Tristan Wirfs, who they drafted last night.
Look, I have to admit Tampa Bay is catching up, and it's now close because I mentioned embarrassment of riches before. Good Lord. I mean, Tom Brady took that, got an organization with a head coach and with receiving weapons everywhere, an underrated defense. They've invested in the O-line, the whole thing, right? And then Gronk joins them, and now they got a guy. It's not just that they got a tackle. They had a need at right tackle. They got value because Wirfs was supposed to go fourth to the Giants. He slid all the way to them, so they even got value at the position. I'm still not putting them ahead of the Saints. The Saints haven't done stuff as sexy as the Bucs have, right? But like Emmanuel Sanders, it's exactly what they need. They needed a real number 2 receiver, and that guy is still playing very well. They have the best receiver in the division. They have an excellent number 2. They have continuity on that team. They had a need on the offensive line. It just wasn't as big a deal, not on the outside, on the interior of the offensive line. They used their first-round pick on that. The Saints are a very well-constructed, well-coached team with continuity, and every year we think they're among the favorites, and they've run into some, Drew Brees hasn't played great in certain spots. They've run into some bad luck, especially with officiating. You keep taking bites of that apple, it's going to work out one year. At this moment, I still have the Saints as the number 1 team in the division.
Well, I respect your position on the Saints, but I'm going to roll with Marcus Spears here, and I don't want to hear a single damn word of positivity that oozes out of your mouth about Tom Brady for this upcoming season. I don't want to hear a damn word. According to you, the cliff had arrived 3 years ago. Then it arrived 2 years ago. But then it arrived last year, and it wasn't a cliff. It was a ravine. And when I religiously stated, and Molly is a witness, Pastor Spears is a witness, I literally said on numerous occasions, Tom Brady doesn't have anything to work with. Antonio Brown didn't work out. Josh Gordon didn't work out. N'Keal Harry and Lacassie and those boys were rookies. What do you expect? Bill Belichick and those brothers, knowing he was 42 years of age, put him in this position. You did not want to hear it. You kept saying he's done. You even called him a jag at one point. Just another guy. That was you. Okay? But now
that he's in Tampa. None of this Mike Evans. None of this Chris Godwin. None of this Gronk. With O.J. Howard. With Cameron Brate. Oh, by the way, they just drafted an offensive lineman. Now, I got to say, they're catching up. No. Stinky, as Michael Irvin once said,
don't make any sense.
Intensity. Please don't lose the intensity. Keep the same intensity. Please don't lose the intensity.
You
Keep
don't
the same
make
intensity.
any
Same intensity.
sense.
Don't change
You're
that.
saying-
Don't change that.
You're saying that Tom Brady, Tom Brady goes to the most loaded situation, and because of Tom
Brady's done.
Hold on.
Tom Brady's done. Now
If
he's
you
got
are-
weapons, and all
let's
of
put
a
it another
sudden
way.
you want to modify? No.
If Kirk
No.
Cousins was in Tampa Bay, we'd be saying more or less the same stuff about them. If you put an average quarterback in Tampa Bay with those weapons, we'd be like, that's going to be a
Kirk
problem
Cousins is not
because
average.
the amount
Cousins is
of
not average.
offense. What is it? That's
Kirk
not
Cousins
a
is not
commentary on
average.
Tom Brady, and I still got the Saints.
Kirk Cousins is not average. Please.
Oh, no?
You don't
So
get to
he's
say
better
that.
than-
You
so
sat
he's-
up there and said
he's
he was
top
done
10?
3 years ago.
He's
and
top
2
what?
years ago and 1 year ago.
Top what?
Stop it.
Yeah. I said Brady's going to go
They don't
from
top nothing.
elite to
They don't
just
top
a guy.
nothing.
What is he?
I got to say they're getting
He's
close.
elite right
They're
now?
catching up. Please.
Yeah.
Max,
will
did
be.
you
Right,
just
so the
compare
Vikings.
Kirk
That's
Cousins
right.
to Tom Brady? Hold on. Did Max just compare Kirk Cousins to Tom Brady?
Yeah, at this point in their
Yes.
career, sure.
Max, come
Kirk
on,
Cousins
man.
won a playoff game
Come
last
on.
year. Did Tom Brady?
Tom Brady,
that's what we going
Tom
by
Brady
now?
won 12 games with no
That's
offense.
what we going by now?
He won with 12 games with no offense.
Hold on.
No, he had a great
Marcus,
defense
hold on.
and the best
He
coach
won
in the
12.
league.
Marcus, hold on. Hold on, Max.
So-
Max,
so-
did the
all right.
Patriots in Tom Brady's prime, did the Patriots lose without winning a playoff game in the season? Yes, they did. They did that a couple of times in Tom Brady's career. They didn't always win a playoff game when he was balling. So now because they didn't win a playoff game last year,
We're
that's on
talking
him?
of- Stephen A., they had an all-world defense last season. Tom Brady was good enough to win 12 games in the regular season, but when they needed it most against Miami and then in the playoffs against the Titans, they didn't get it done. It's not
thought you
just
said it
Tom
was
Brady,
Derrick Henry.
but this is a guy who a
I thought
couple
you said it
years
was
ago
Derrick Henry.
was able to take Edelman and Hogan and these guys, Amendola, and make Super Bowl runs. That's not the same guy
You just
anymore.
need to
I'm
stop
not making this up.
That's done. I'm done listening to you.
Ain't nobody
You said Derrick Henry was a monster, and that was the reason they lost the game.
Ain't
Now it's
nobody
Tom
saying
Brady.
that.
Now it's Tom Brady when
Nobody's
you were saying
that.
Derrick Henry for months.
Nobody's saying that.
Wait, I can't say
Nobody's
that
saying
one
that
player
Tom
on the
Brady
other
the
team is
same guy,
good.
Max.
That means I'm saying something about Brady.
Nobody's.
If I
did
think
not
Derrick
say
Henry's
that.
a
I
monster,
said
that
you
means
said
I'm
Brady the
Derrick
same
Henry
guy.
was the
contradicting
reason.
myself about Brady.
That's not what I said.
All right,
You
gentlemen.
trying to twist it because
Well,
you don't
you're
want to be
logic today,
accountable.
brother.
Oh, please. Yeah, please. Talk to yourself
gotta
about
break
Brady.
this
I'm not
party
listening
up,
to you
even
no
though it's
more.
very,
Matter of fact,
very
whenever you bring up
entertaining.
Brady, I'm going to walk off.
Confusing. That's all I gotta say.
My goodness.
Please.
Hey, Marcus,
A
thank you so
joke.
much for being
Oh,
with
by
us.
the way,
And
by the way,
we'll,
Molly,
we'll talk
Molly,
to you next
Molly,
week. Yeah.
Molly, hold on one second. By the
Okay.
way, Max, if Tom Brady and Kirk Cousins is the same, then how in the hell don't you have Tampa ahead of the Saints? Kirk Cousins beat the Saints in New Orleans last year.
Yes, he did. That's right, he did. That's
Drop
why I'm
Mike.
saying it's close.
Drop
if you're loaded
Mike.
enough,
Haymaker.
then an inferior
Haymaker by
quarterback can beat a
Spears.
superior